My wife cheated with her boss, tried to replace me, and called me boring. So I crushed her fantasy, took back my life, and found real love without her. My wife's alpha boss slipped his hand into her skirt and said, "Leave. She's mine now, or face me man to man." 10 minutes later, he couldn't walk, stand, or talk. I broke his bones. Let me tell you how we got there. That Friday, I left the office early. Traffic was light. I thought it was a gift, a chance to surprise my wife, Rachel. We hadn't had real time together in weeks. She kept saying she was busy with late projects, business dinners, and marketing launches. "My boss needs me all weekend," she'd whisper while slipping on her heels, always in a rush, always smelling like a man's cologne that wasn't mine. Still, I trusted her. At least I wanted to. That morning, she told me she'd be in meetings until late at her boss's place. "Just the team, nothing wild," she said. I said sure, kissed her goodbye, and watched her hop into an Uber with a suspiciously eager smile. Something didn't sit right, but I didn't say anything. So there I was, pulling into the high-rise parking lot, carrying her favorite takeout and a bottle of wine. I even brought her slippers, the fuzzy gray ones with wifey stitched on them. I still believed she was worth that. The front desk tried to stop me. "She's in a private meeting, sir," they said. "I'm her husband," I replied, walking past. "Suite, floor 29. I took the elevator up and stepped out quietly. The door was slightly open. Laughter echoed down the hallway. Male laughter, her laugh too, a flirtatious fake little giggle I hadn't heard in months. Then I heard him. "Come here, Rach. You know he's just dead weight. I can give you everything. You're mine now." My stomach twisted. I took a step forward, silent, calm. But then came the sound that snapped my spine in half, a moan, a soft whimper, fabric shifting. Then my wife's alpha boss slipped his hand into her skirt and said, "Leave. She's mine now, or face me man to man." I stepped in. He was tall, smug, in a white linen shirt, half unbuttoned, hands still under her skirt like he owned her. Rachel didn't even flinch. She just looked at me like I was a damn inconvenience. "You should go, Kyle," she said without shame. "Go," I whispered. "You serious?" The boss, Trent, I later found out, stood smiling. "You heard her. She's made her choice. Walk out now like a good boy, or face me like a man." I saw red. In 10 minutes, that smug piece of trash couldn't walk, stand, or talk. I broke his nose, his ribs, his jaw. I shattered his pride. He didn't even land a punch. The room turned red, not just in my head, but literally. Blood on the white marble, screams from Rachel, furniture flipping, her heels sliding across the floor as she scrambled for her phone. And me? I was calm. After the last crack of his collarbone, I stood over his groaning body and looked at her. "You made your choice, Rachel," I said. "Now watch what it cost." She was crying, not because of guilt, not because of him. She was screaming at me for ruining her opportunity. "You ruined everything," she shouted, mascara smudging her fake tears. "He was going to promote me. Do you know what you've done?" I blinked that moment. Standing in that chaos, I didn't feel like her husband. I felt like a man who just walked in on a stranger wearing his wife's skin. I left without another word. But that was only the beginning. Next, how I found out the affair started months before that night, and that she wasn't just cheating. She was planning to replace me entirely. The next morning, I woke up on the couch at my brother's place with blood on my knuckles and a silence in my chest that didn't feel human. I stared at the ceiling for maybe an hour before moving. My phone had 38 missed calls, all from Rachel. No apologies, just screaming voicemails. "You assaulted my boss, Kyle. You're going to jail. And you blew up my career over nothing." Nothing. That word cut harder than any punch I'd thrown. I didn't call her back. I didn't even listen to them all. I just lay there, letting the weight of everything sink into my bones. I wasn't angry yet, not fully. I was something worse, numb. Later that day, I went back to our house, not to talk, just to see it. The place still smelled like her perfume. Her heels were still by the door. My coffee mug was still in the sink, half full. It was like the universe hadn't gotten the memo that everything had just fallen apart. I walked into the bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed. That's when I noticed her laptop glowing on the dresser. I shouldn't have opened it, I know that, but I did. The messages were still up, a full thread between her and Trent. No password, no shame. They'd been talking for months, not just talking, planning dinners, weekend trips, secret hotel bookings labeled as client retreats. She called him T, said things like, "You make me feel alive again," and "Kyle just doesn't get me. He's too soft." Too soft. That one stuck with me, like I was some dull edge in a drawer of sharp ones. There were even selfies. Her in his office wearing that skirt, and behind her, grinning, his hands all over her like I never mattered. And then I saw one message from her to him, just a week ago. "Once Kyle's out of the way, we can finally stop hiding." That's when something inside me snapped, not in rage but clarity. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a moment of weakness. She chose this, over and over again. I left everything the way it was and walked out. I needed air, I needed space. But most of all, I needed to stop being this idiot who thought love was enough to hold someone who didn't want to be held. That night, she came home. I heard her heels clicking down the hallway like nothing had happened. She called my name like it still meant something. I didn't answer. She walked into the kitchen and froze when she saw me sitting there, calm, sipping a beer. "You broke into my laptop?" she asked, arms crossed, eyes cold. I said nothing. "You're seriously going to spy on me now, after attacking Trent like some psycho caveman?" I just looked at her. "How long?" she scoffed. "Oh, please. How long, Rachel?" She rolled her eyes and leaned against the counter. "Since February." "You want a trophy for figuring it out?" I wanted to vomit, not from the betrayal. That part was already calcified. But from the way she said it, like it was just business, like I was some dumb intern she forgot to fire. "I was faithful to you," I said. "Even when you started pulling away, even when you stopped looking me in the eye." She snorted. "Yeah, well, you're not exactly the man I married anymore. And what's that mean?" "It means you stopped trying, Kyle. You stopped being interesting. You used to have drive. You used to be hungry. Now you're just content, comfortable. That's not what I signed up for." I stood slowly. "So instead of talking to me, you let some sleaze whisper in your ear and climb into your skirt?" She flinched, not because of the words, but because the truth stung more than any insult. She looked me in the eye, then for the first time in months, "I don't regret it," she said. My heart didn't break. It shattered quietly, cleanly, like glass dropped in slow motion. "Then this marriage is done," I said. "You chose him. Own it." She nodded like she'd already moved on in her head. "You'll be hearing from my lawyer." She turned and walked out. No tears, no apologies, not even a glance back. I didn't stop her. I watched her leave the same way you watch a storm roll away after it's already torn through your house. No sense chasing what's already broken everything. And then came the worst part, the silence after. The silence where I had to sit alone, stare at the walls we painted together, the wedding photo still on the shelf, and ask myself what the hell I missed. I didn't sleep that night, just stared at the ceiling, the walls, the photo of our wedding day still sitting smugly on the dresser like a ghost that refused to leave. Her smile in that picture, I used to think it meant something. Now it just looked rehearsed, plastic, like she was already practicing how to lie. I called in sick the next morning. I couldn't imagine sitting in the office pretending things were okay, pretending I was okay. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw him, Trent, standing there with his hand up my wife's skirt, smiling like the king of the goddamn world. I couldn't get over how calm she was about the whole thing. No guilt, no panic, just that bored, slightly annoyed tone she always used when I asked her where she'd been lately. It made me wonder if this was even her first time. So I started digging. I called an old friend, Brandon, who works in private security. Good guy, owed me a favor. I asked him to pull whatever he could. I gave him Rachel's number, her email, even her old laptop. Within 48 hours, I had a folder. Turns out, Trent wasn't the first. There were two others, one in Los Angeles during a conference and another from her gym, some trainer she used to pretend she hated. She'd been lying to me for years, smiling in my face, sleeping next to me, planning dinner while juggling other men like I was the damn side piece in my own marriage. She even had a separate bank account, hidden, stashed thousands sitting there untouched under a fake last name. She'd been saving up to leave, just in case Trent didn't work out, I guess. An insurance policy. You know what broke me most? I remember this one night, maybe 6 months ago. I had a migraine, the kind that drills into your skull and makes light feel like knives. She brought me soup, rubbed my head, kissed my forehead like she gave a damn. And all that time, she was probably texting him under the table. I sat on the edge of the bed and laughed. It wasn't funny. It was that kind of laugh that feels like you're trying not to scream. Then I did something I'm not proud of. I called her. She picked up on the third ring. "What?" "I know everything," I said. Los Angeles, the trainer, the hidden account. Silence. "You really think I was that stupid?" Her voice came low, steady. "You were always soft, Kyle. I knew you wouldn't look." My hand tightened around the phone. "So what, this was just a game to you?" "No," she said. "It was survival. You think being your wife was easy? You were predictable, safe, but boring as hell. I stayed longer than I should have. I wanted to throw the phone, break something, scream, but I just sat there, gripping the edge of the bed like it was the only thing keeping me tethered to reality." "You're not even sorry," she chuckled. "Why should I be? I got what I wanted. And you got a wake-up call. Congratulations." Then she hung up. I didn't move for an hour, just stared at the dead screen in my hand. My heartbeat wasn't even racing anymore. I was past that, way past that. That's when I knew I wasn't going to fight for her. I wasn't going to beg or cry or ask why. There was no why that mattered. She wasn't confused. She wasn't hurt. She was calculating, cold, selfish to the core. I was just another stepping stone to her next upgrade. So I called Brandon again. Told him I wanted everything documented, every photo, every email, every transaction. I was going to burn this marriage to the ground, legally. Take the house, take the car, freeze the accounts. If she wanted to start over, she could do it from scratch. I called my lawyer next. Told him to prepare everything, no delays. Then I packed her stuff. Threw it all into garbage bags, every dress, every designer purse I paid for, every pair of heels she wore to cheat on me. All in the garage, waiting for her to pick them up like the trash she treated me as. And then I found one last thing. A letter, handwritten, folded into the back of her drawer. It wasn't to me, it was to him, Trent. She wrote about how she loved how powerful he made her feel, how she dreamed of being his queen, how once I was out of the picture, they could finally stop pretending. I burned it in the sink, watched the ink curl and vanish. The next time I saw her was at the courthouse. She came in late, sunglasses on like a damn celebrity, no apology, no shame. But the real moment, the real justice, came weeks later when I got the call. Trent had been fired. An internal investigation found inappropriate relations and a string of harassment complaints from other employees. Turns out, my beating wasn't what destroyed him. His own filth did. She called me that night, probably drunk. Kyle, I messed up. I didn't think it would fall apart like this. I let the silence stretch. You were always good to me, I should've... I hung up. No second chances. Not for someone who never gave me a first one. A week passed, then 2. I was still waking up at 3 in the morning in a cold sweat, half expecting to hear her moving around the kitchen, humming some song she used to play on Sunday mornings. But the apartment was dead quiet, just me and the ghosts of everything I thought we were. I kept thinking about the time I bought her that bracelet, the one with the little blue sapphire in the middle, her birthstone. She wore it the day she told me she loved me for the first time. I found it buried in the trash bag with her other stuff, tangled in a clump of hair ties and old receipts, like it meant nothing. That's what hit me hardest, not the betrayal, not even the lies. It was realizing that none of it meant a damn thing to her. The vacations, the anniversaries, the inside jokes, the nights we stayed up talking about dreams and kids and growing old, just placeholders. Pretty little distractions while she planned her exit strategy. People told me I should be glad I found out, that I was lucky to escape before it got worse. But I didn't feel lucky. I felt gutted, like someone had reached into my chest and hollowed me out. And the worst part? I still missed her sometimes. Not the real her, but the version I created in my head, the Rachel that never existed. I went back to work eventually, tried to act normal, but everything felt different. Food tasted bland. Music was noise. Conversations felt like scripts I had to force myself to read from. I started going to the gym again, not to get in shape, but to burn out the rage. The betrayal lived in my muscles, and lifting was the only way to bleed some of it out. Then one night, I ran into someone I didn't expect to see, Mallory. She was Rachel's old friend from college, the kind who always kept her distance but smiled politely at parties. I bumped into her at a bookstore, of all places. We made eye contact. She smiled, a little hesitantly. Hey Kyle, haven't seen you since the wedding. I almost laughed. Yeah, a lot's changed since then. She tilted her head. I heard. I'm sorry, really. We talked for a bit, nothing heavy. She didn't pry, just casual things, books, work, mutual friends. She told me she'd never liked Trent. Said he always gave her that look, the kind that makes your skin itch. She also told me something else. Rachel used to talk about leaving you long before she met him. I blinked. Really? She nodded. She said you were too stable, that you made her feel trapped. I told her that's not a flaw, that it was a gift. But Rachel... She trailed off, searching for the words. She wanted drama, chaos, someone who made her feel dangerous. That hit me harder than I expected because I realized it wasn't about Trent or the trainer or the guy in Los Angeles. It was her, always her. She didn't cheat because something was wrong with me. She cheated because she needed the thrill of destruction to feel alive. After that night, I started changing things. I sold the house, got a new apartment, cut my hair, shaved the beard, tossed every photo that had her in it. I started rebuilding, not out of anger, I was past that now, but out of necessity. I couldn't carry her shadow anymore, couldn't let her keep renting space in my head. One morning I woke up and realized I hadn't thought about her in days, and when I did, it wasn't with pain, it was just silence. She texted me once after that, just one line, "Do you think we could talk sometime?" I didn't reply. What could we possibly talk about? She burned the bridge, pissed on the ashes, and then wondered why I never came back. I don't hate her anymore, but I don't wish her well either. Some people don't deserve closure. They don't deserve forgiveness. They deserve distance, silence, a locked door that never opens again. And that's what she'll get forever. Weeks turned into months. I started breathing easier, not because I was over it, but because I finally stopped expecting her to come back through that door with some pathetic apology, some fake, tearful confession. That chapter was over, closed, sealed, burned. But just when you think life is settling down, it has a funny way of throwing one last slap to remind you who's in charge. It was a Thursday, I remember, because I had just finished a long shift and was heading to grab dinner. As I stepped into the parking garage, a black SUV pulled in fast, tires screeching. The window rolled down. It was her, Rachel. Hair done, makeup perfect, lips blood red like always. But something was off. Her eyes were wild, not sexy wild, unhinged wild. "Kyle," she said, voice shaking. "Please, I need help." I blinked. "Are you serious?" "It's Trent," she whispered, looking over her shoulder. "He's not who I thought he was." I almost laughed. "Welcome to the party." "No, you don't get it," she said. "He's dangerous. He's been following me, watching me. I think he bugged my apartment." I took a step back. "So you slept with a psycho, and now I'm supposed to save you?" Her eyes flared. "I made a mistake, okay? Rachel, you made several. And now that your toy turned on you, you suddenly remember I exist?" She slammed her palm on the steering wheel. "You don't know what he's capable of." "Actually," I said coldly, "I do. I've met him. And if he's as weak now as he was when I folded him in half, I'd say you'll be just fine." Tears welled up, but I didn't believe them. She always had a way of crying like it was an art form, like she practiced in front of mirrors. "You said you loved me once," she whispered. "Yeah, once. Before I knew who the hell you really were." Then I turned and walked away. I didn't stop, didn't look back, didn't care what happened after. Whatever mess she was in, she built it, brick by brick. I was done being her safety net. Let her fall. A week later, I heard the full story. Turns out, Trent wasn't just a narcissist. He was into deep stuff, shady deals, offshore accounts, threats to employees. One woman came forward with recordings. Internal investigations blew wide open. And Rachel, she was right in the middle. Not innocent, not by a long shot, but now unwanted, toxic to everyone around her. No job, no man, no more power. I should have felt vindicated, but I didn't. I just felt clean. For the first time in over a year, I wasn't waking up with a hole in my chest. I wasn't looking for answers in old photos. I wasn't trying to understand a heart that never had space for mine. I was done. People like Rachel don't change. They adapt, manipulate, evolve into new versions of the same problem. They survive by draining the life out of whoever is nearby. But me, I learned. I learned to spot the signs. The sudden phone flips when I walked in the room. The fake smiles that didn't reach the eyes. The way I'm just tired always meant I'm thinking about someone else. I learned that love without loyalty is just performance. That some people love the idea of you but not the reality. That the worst kind of betrayal isn't the affair. It's the moment you realize they never saw you as real to begin with. So what do I say now? I say, trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. If they start calling you boring, ask yourself, or them, who they've been comparing you to. And most of all, walk away at the first sign of poison. Not the 5th, not the 15th, the 1st. Because you're not weak for staying, but you are reborn the day you finally leave. Somewhere between healing and forgetting, I started living again. Not perfectly, not loudly, but steadily. Mornings weren't battles anymore. I stopped checking the mirror for what I lacked, and started seeing the man I used to be before her. Maybe even someone stronger. I picked up boxing again, nothing serious, just enough to feel control in my fists instead of rage. The first time I hit the bag and didn't picture Trent's smug face, I knew I was making progress. One night, Brandon invited me to a bonfire at the lake. New people, he said. No drama. I didn't want to go, but I forced myself. The idea of standing in a crowd where no one knew my name or my baggage sounded peaceful. That's when I met Camille. She wasn't flashy, wasn't trying to be seen, just standing there in jeans, holding a drink, staring at the fire like it held secrets only she could hear. We talked for hours about nothing, about everything. Life, music, bad movies, worse decisions. Not once did she ask about my past, and I didn't offer it. She laughed at my dumb jokes, and it didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like a test I had to pass to earn her attention. It felt easy. That night, driving home, I realized something. I didn't miss Rachel. I missed feeling seen, heard, valued. Camille didn't fill a void. She reminded me that voids could be temporary. Over the next few weeks, we texted, called, met up. She wasn't clingy, didn't play games. And when I finally told her the whole story about Rachel, Trent, the betrayal, she didn't flinch. She just nodded and said, "That's some dark water you swam through." "Yeah," I replied, "but I'm not drowning anymore." Camille didn't try to fix me. That's what made her different. She just stood beside me while I rebuilt myself, brick by brick, breath by breath. And Rachel, she tried one more time. This time it was an email, long, rambling, half confession, half manipulation. She said she missed us, that she didn't realize what she had until it was gone, that Trent had turned on her, that she was alone. I stared at the screen for a while, not because it hurt, it didn't, not anymore, but because I realized I didn't feel anything. No bitterness, no pity, not even triumph, just indifference. I archived the email, didn't reply, didn't delete it either, just left it there like a museum piece behind glass, a reminder of who she was, who I was. It was closure without words. And now I sleep through the night. I breathe deeper, I love quieter, and I listen more, not just to others but to myself, my instincts, my boundaries. Because heartbreak doesn't kill you. It just introduces you to the version of yourself you forgot existed. And if you're lucky, if you fight through the storm without letting it turn you into someone bitter, you come out the other side stronger, sharper, cleaner, and you finally stop asking, why did this happen to me? Instead you say, thank God it did. It's strange how peace doesn't arrive with fireworks. It sneaks in, slow and quiet, like a calm tide washing over wreckage. One day you're barely holding it together, and the next you realize you haven't thought about her in weeks. You're just living. I saw Rachel once more, by accident. It was a grocery store of all places, a mundane Tuesday. I was grabbing eggs and oat milk, pushing my cart down aisle 4, when I heard heels clicking. That sound used to send my pulse racing. Now it made me look up, purely out of instinct. There she was, same strut, same overconfidence, but she looked tired, worn around the eyes, like whatever mask she used to wear had cracked under the weight of her own choices. She didn't see me at first, too busy talking loudly into her phone about some ridiculous landlord. I kept walking, didn't plan on stopping. But right as we passed each other, her eyes caught mine. She froze. So did I. For half a second, the world went silent, not out of emotion, but out of awkwardness. Like bumping into a stranger you used to know in a different life. She opened her mouth, maybe to say something, maybe not. I didn't care. I just nodded, not coldly, not warmly, just acknowledgement. She gave a small, strange smile. It didn't reach her eyes. It wasn't real. I turned and kept walking, not because I was angry, but because she no longer mattered. And that was freedom. I got back to my car, shut the door, sat behind the wheel, and just exhaled. No shaking hands, no bitter flashbacks, just this steady, powerful feeling in my chest. Like I had finally outrun the storm. Camille called me later that night, said she was cooking dinner and burned the rice again. You still coming over? She asked. Wouldn't miss it. I brought flowers, nothing expensive, just the kind that smelled like something soft. She opened the door, barefoot, her hair up, a little rice flower on her cheek. She laughed when she saw the bouquet. For me, no, I smirked, for the rice. She hit me with a dish towel and kissed me anyway. We ate on the couch, legs tangled, her head on my shoulder. There was music playing low, some acoustic indie track she liked, the kind Rachel used to scoff at. And as we sat there, plates empty, my hand resting on Camille's knee, I realized something. I wasn't afraid anymore. Not of love, not of losing, not of being vulnerable, because I knew now what I'd survived. Rachel didn't destroy me. She revealed me, showed me where my edges were, showed me what I would never accept again. And as much as I hated what happened, I needed it. I needed to be broken to learn how to rebuild the right way. So if someone out there is reading this, sitting in the same pit I was in, hear me. You're not weak for loving the wrong person. You're not stupid for believing in them. But you will be stronger if you leave. And you will love again, just not the way you did before. You'll love wiser, slower, but deeper, with eyes wide open. And when it finally finds you, the real thing, you'll know, because this time, it won't feel like fireworks. It'll feel like peace. 1 year to the day since it all fell apart, I stood on a beach with Camille's hand in mine, watching the sun sink into the ocean like it had somewhere better to be. There was no ceremony, no crowd, no big declarations, just her, me, and a quiet we both earned the hard way. She squeezed my hand and leaned her head on my shoulder. You okay? I nodded. Yeah, actually, I think I am. Because this time, love didn't come wrapped in drama or danger. It came in soft moments, honest conversations, shared silence. It came without having to prove my worth or walk on eggshells. Camille never once made me feel like I was too much or not enough. She never punished me for stability or mistook kindness for weakness. She knew about the scars and she kissed them without trying to fix them. That was new. That was healing. We stood there a long time, just listening to the waves. And somewhere in that stillness, the last of Rachel's shadow finally lifted. It didn't leave with a bang. No final words, no last regrets. just the realization that she was nothing more than a story I had lived through, not something I carried with me anymore. She was a chapter, not the book. When I think about her now, I don't feel anything. Not hate, not pain, just distance, like remembering a place I used to live in that no longer feels like home. I left that man behind, the one who begged for her attention, who confused chaos with passion, who gave more than he ever got back. That man learned through fire and fracture what love is not. And because of that, he finally made room for something real. So here's my final word for anyone who's been there, for anyone bleeding quietly behind a forced smile. Don't chase the person who broke you. Don't beg them to see your worth, because someone else will. Someone who won't make you fight for scraps of affection, or question your own reflection. You are not what they did to you. You're what you choose to become after. And I chose this: peace, freedom, and a life I built with my own hands, without her. The ocean stretched out before us, its waves a steady heartbeat under the fading light. Camille's hand was warm in mine, her presence a quiet strength that didn't demand or diminish. I stood there, barefoot in the sand, feeling the weight of a year's worth of pain dissolve into the tide. Rachel's betrayal, Trent's smug challenge, the chaos of that night. It was all behind me, not forgotten but no longer a chain. For the first time, I wasn't defined by what I'd lost, but by what I'd built. A life rooted in truth, anchored by peace. The days after that beach moment unfolded with a gentle rhythm. Mornings began with coffee and Camille's soft laughter as we debated who burned the toast worse. I'd head to work, where my sustainable design project was gaining traction, earning praise from clients who saw my passion in every blueprint. My team leaned on me, not just for expertise but for the calm I brought to high-stakes deadlines, a calm I'd earned through fire. Evenings were for Max, our rescue dog, who'd sprawl across the couch as Camille and I cooked, her off-key singing mingling with the sizzle of garlic in the pan. I reconnected with parts of myself I'd buried under Rachel's lies. I picked up my old sketchbook, drawing again, not for work, but for me, lines and shadows that captured the world as I saw it now. Ethan, my brother, noticed the change during a hiking trip. "You're not just back," he said, tossing a pebble into the river. "You're better." I grinned, skipping a stone across the water. "Had to lose everything to find it." He nodded. No need for more words. We understood each other. Rachel's shadow was gone, her name a faint echo. My lawyer, Liam, sent a final update. Rachel had settled out of court, no contest, her career in tatters after Trent's scandal imploded. She'd moved across state lines, chasing a new start or maybe running from her wreckage. I didn't care. Her story wasn't mine anymore. I didn't check her socials, didn't wonder who she was with. She was a lesson, not a legend. I started volunteering at a community center, teaching kids to box, not to fight, but to channel their energy, to stand tall when life swung. One kid, Marcus, reminded me of myself at his age, quiet, angry, unsure. "You ever get over being mad?" he asked after a session. I thought about Rachel, about the nights I'd wanted to burn the world down. "You don't get over it," I said. "You get through it. And on the other side, you find something better." He nodded, like he understood more than he could say. Camille and I grew closer, not rushing but building. Each moment a choice rather than a need. She didn't fill a void. She shared a space I'd reclaimed. One night, over wine and a bad horror movie, she asked about my scars, not the physical ones, but the ones Rachel left. I told her everything, not to unburden but to be known. She listened, her hand on mine, and when I finished, she said, "You didn't let her break you. That's why I'm here." I kissed her, slow and sure, grateful for a love that didn't hurt. A month later, I got a letter from Rachel's sister, Mallory, forwarded through Liam. It was short, "Kyle, I'm sorry for what she did. She's lost, but you're not. Keep shining." I read it once, smiled, and tucked it away. It didn't heal anything. It didn't need to. My peace was mine, forged in the ashes of betrayal, polished by choice. As fall settled in, I stood on my balcony, Max at my feet, Camille's laughter drifting from the kitchen. The city sparkled below, alive with promise. I thought about the man I'd been, betrayed, bloodied, broken by a woman who'd never deserved me. That man was gone, replaced by someone stronger, unafraid to walk away, to demand truth, to love without losing himself. Rachel's lies had tried to bury me, but they'd only cleared the ground for something real. And as the stars burned above, I raised a silent toast to the life I'd built, free, honest, and wholly mine.